You know that specific physical sensation that hits you when your life just completely falls apart?
Oh, yeah. The stomach drop.
Right. I'm not talking about general sadness or grief specifically. I'm talking about the actual drop. You get the phone call or you see the flashing lights in your rear view
Or
mirror.
the boss calls you into the office on a Friday afternoon.
Exactly. And it just feels like the floor of the universe opened up and swallowed you whole.
It's totally visceral.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really fascinating from a psychological perspective is how incredibly fast the brain attaches a narrative to that physical sensation.
Yeah, before you even process the actual facts.
Right before you even process it, your brain screams, "This is the end, the story is over, and it is a tragedy."
It's instant. It's almost a reflex. But that reflex is exactly what we're going to dismantle today.
Because we are doing a deep dive into some really profound work by a therapist named Raj Mehta.
Right. We're looking at a talk of his called Understanding Life, and specifically how he deals with clients who are facing what they absolutely believe to be catastrophic, life-ending events.
Mostly focusing on arrests and addiction. And I want to be clear right off the bat here. This isn't about looking on the bright side.
Right. No toxic positivity.
Exactly. This isn't just pretending everything is fine. Mehta's argument is structural. He argues that our obsession with labeling events as good or bad the moment they happen isn't just pessimistic.
It's logically flawed.
It is logically flawed. He actually calls it a sophomoric view of the world.
Sophomoric, which is a really specific word choice. It usually refers to like a college sophomore, someone who has just enough knowledge to be arrogant, but not quite enough to be wise.
That's the exact etymology. It comes from the Greek meaning wise fool. And Mehta uses it to describe that state where we think we have all the data.
Like looking at a single frame of a movie and thinking, the entire ending.
Precisely. And the mission of this deep dive is to see if we can move from that sophomoric view to what he calls the sophisticated view.
And the sophisticated view isn't necessarily about being smarter. From the sources, it seems like it's more about your relationship with time.
It is. It's the ability to wait, to just withhold judgment until more data comes in.
So to get there, we've got a really interesting roadmap today. We're going to start with an ancient Taoist parable that kind of serves as the framework.
Then move into some very gritty, real-world examples from drug court.
And addiction recovery. And then we'll end with a philosophy on how to actually live your life if you can't trust your own luck.
It's a heavy lineup, but it fundamentally changes how you process your own bad days.
Let's start with that framework. The centerpiece of Mehta's philosophy is the story of Mr. Chan. Now, I've heard variations of this story before. It's often called the Chinese farmer.
Right.
But Mehta's version really emphasizes the community reaction versus the individual reaction. It highlights the social pressure to panic.
Yeah, so let's set the scene. We are in a village in ancient China. And we have a family that is, by all accounts, really struggling.
They're poor.
Very poor. But they have this singular goal. They want to buy their son a magnificent horse for his 18th birthday.
Which we have to contextualize for a second. In an agrarian ancient society, a horse isn't just a pet. It's not a luxury item.
It's a tractor.
It's a tractor. It's a Ferrari. And it's a 401k all rolled into one. It represents absolute future stability.
It is wealth. So they save, they scrape, they sacrifice. And finally, the day comes. They buy this incredible stallion. And naturally, the village just loses its mind.
They're thrilled.
They come over, they're cheering, they're patting the father on the back, they're screaming, "This is wonderful, what incredible fortune."
They are rushing to label the event. Like, this is good with a capital G. It makes them feel safe to categorize it.
Yes, because the human brain loves certainty.
Yeah.
But then you have Mr. Chan.
The elder of the village.
Right, the elder. And while everyone is popping champagne or, the ancient equivalent, he's standing there completely flat. Not happy, not sad.
Which is infuriating, by the way. If you're at a party and someone is just staring at you, refusing to participate in the joy, it really kills the vibe.
It does. So a villager finally asks him, "Why aren't you celebrating? This is clearly good luck."
And Mr. Chan drops the 3 words that basically define this entire philosophy. He says, "We shall see."
We shall see. It feels almost cynical.
It does, but he turns out to be right because the plot twists almost immediately.
A few days later, the son takes this prize horse out. He's right in the horse spooks, and the boy is thrown. And it's not a minor fall. He shatters his leg.
And again, context is everything. A broken leg in modern times is a cast, some crutches, and, 6 weeks of catching up on Netflix.
Right.
But a broken leg in ancient China for a farm boy? That's a catastrophe. You can't work. You are now a burden on the very family you were supposed to support.
It's potentially a death sentence for the family's finances. So the pendulum of the village swings all the way back. The neighbors come over, they were weeping, they're bringing
They
casseroles.
say this is a curse. This is the worst thing that could have possibly happened.
They've completely relabeled the movie, now it's a tragedy. And they look at Mr. Chan expecting him to finally agree with them.
They probably want validation for their grief. Like, oh, okay, old man, surely you have to admit this one is bad.
And Mr. Chan is completely unmoved. He looks at the weeping villagers, seemingly cold to the whole situation, and just says, "We shall see."
I want to pause here for a second because this is where I struggle with the story a bit. It feels so detached. Is Mr. Chan just suppressing his emotions?
It seems like it would
Because
try.
if the sophisticated view is just stoicism or being a robot, I don't know if I buy it. If my kid breaks his leg, I'm going to be upset.
And that's the crucial distinction Mehta makes. It is not about not having emotions. You can absolutely feel the pain. You can feel the fear.
Okay.
But the sophisticated view is about not trusting your projection of the future. The villagers represent that sophomoric view. They are entirely reactive.
They look at a raw fact like the leg is broken and they immediately hallucinate a future where his life is over.
Exactly. They're confusing the event with the outcome. The sophisticated view which Mr. Chan holds is actually an admission of ignorance.
So he's just saying, I don't know enough yet.
Right. It's saying, I know the leg is broken, and I feel the pain of that. But I do not know where this narrative leads.
And as it turns out, the narrative shifts again.
Drastically. The geopolitical reality interferes. The emperor declares war on the Mongol invaders.
And this is a massive, brutal conflict.
The army marches right into this tiny village with conscription orders. They are taking every single able-bodied male.
An ancient conscription wasn't a tour of duty. It was basically a one-way trip. You were cannon fodder.
Essentially, yes. It was a meat grinder. So the soldiers line up all the young men, but they get to the farmer's son, take one look at the shattered leg, and just push him aside.
He's useless to the army.
He is completely rejected, which in a different context would be deeply shameful.
But here he is spared.
He's spared. The army marches away with every other young man in the village, and a year later, news comes back, they're all dead. Every single one.
Wow. So the curse, the broken leg, was literally the only shield strong enough to save his life.
Precisely. So now the villagers, who have to be exhausted from all this emotional whiplash by now, come back and say, oh, the broken leg was a blessing. It was good all along.
And surely at this point, Mr. Chan agrees.
No. He says, we shall see. Even when the son's leg heals, and he eventually becomes the chief of the village, because, well, he's the only man left from his generation.
Great.
Mr. Chan never commits to the label. He never says, this is good. He just waits.
It really highlights how arrogant we are to think we know what's happening in our own lives. Mehta has a quote in the source material that really anchors this for me.
Which one?
He writes, "You have no idea what suffering is being averted by your current hardship."
What suffering is being averted? That's a haunting way to phrase it.
It flips the script completely. We usually think the hardship is the suffering, like I lost my job, therefore I am suffering.
But Mehta is suggesting the hardship might actually be the bunker protecting you from the bomb.
And this is where we really have to pivot to the real world. Because
Yeah.
Mr. Chan is a parable.
Right, it's clean.
It fits perfectly in a storybook. But Raj Mehta is a therapist dealing with people who are in very real, very messy legal trouble. He
Right.
talks a lot about the arrest scenario.
And this is where the rubber meets the road. Because it's easy to say, we shall see about a story. It's incredibly hard to say it when you're sitting in handcuffs.
Exactly. Picture a client walking into Mehta's office. They've just been arrested for a DUI, first offense.
They're terrified.
They're shaking. They've lost their license. They're facing thousands in legal fees. Maybe they've even lost their job.
To them, this is the broken leg. This is the bad event. They're probably thinking, why me? Why now?
They're telling themselves the sophomoric story. My life is ruined. I am a criminal. This is a tragedy.
And how does Mehta handle that? Because you can't just tell someone in that state, hey, maybe a war is coming. You never know. That sounds totally dismissive.
No, you have to look at the data. Mehta walks them through a forensic reconstruction of the night. He asks, okay, you got pulled over. What did you blow on the breathalyzer?
And often these aren't borderline cases. We're talking 0.15, 0.16.
So double the legal limit. We're talking blackout territory.
Right. So he asks the incredibly uncomfortable question. If that cop hadn't turned on his lights at that exact second, what happens in the next mile.
That is the variable we never look at. We look at what happened, not what didn't happen, the counterfactual history.
Exactly. In the next mile, maybe you drift 3 feet to the left and hit a minivan with a family inside. Maybe you wrap your car around a telephone pole and you're dead.
Or maybe even worse, you actually make it home.
Wait, why is making it home worse?
Because if you make it home, the behavior is reinforced. You got away with it. You don't stop. You drink for another 5 years. The addiction deepens. Maybe the liver failure gets you. Or maybe the next DUI is vehicular manslaughter.
So the arrest, the very thing they were crying about, is actually an intervention.
It is a violent, non-negotiable intervention by the universe. The arrest is literally manslaughter prevention.
In that light, the flashing lights in the rearview mirror weren't bad luck at all. They were the luckiest thing that ever happened to that person.
But you can't see it in the moment. That's the tragedy of the human perspective. We're trapped in the now. We see the mugshot. We don't see the accident that didn't happen.
We're trapped in the pain of the consequence, so we entirely miss the beauty of the prevention. And this is exactly why the sophomore view is so dangerous.
It causes us to mourn things that are actually saving us.
There was another story from Mehta's clinic days that illustrates this even more starkly. And I have to say, reading this one gave me absolute chills.
The Mexican mud story.
Yes. This is the one that really drives the point home about envy. So Mehta is running a group therapy session at the Eastwood Clinic.
Okay.
And there's a patient there, let's call him Mark, who is there via drug court. He is not a volunteer. He is mandated to be there.
So he's resentful. He's angry. He doesn't want to get clean.
Mehta says he has his grumpy pants on. He hates the clinic. He feels like he's in prison. He feels like the unluckiest guy in the world because he's stuck in a circle of folding chairs while his friends are out partying.
And the FOMO, the fear of missing out, really gets weaponized here because he gets a phone call, right?
Yes. His friends call him from the neighborhood, and they're cruel about it. They're bragging. They tell him, dude, you are missing out. We just scored this new stuff. It's called Mexican mud.
Which, for those who don't know, implies an incredibly potent, unrefined heroin.
Very high purity, very dangerous. And they're telling him how high they are, how great it is, basically mocking him for being sober and locked up.
Saying, we're having the time of our lives and you're in time out.
Imagine the psychology of that moment. You're an addict, you're stuck in rehab against your will, and your friends are telling you they have the best supply ever.
He must have felt like the universe was punishing him specifically.
He viewed the clinic as a total curse. This is bad. He went to bed that night furious, jealous, and just full of self-pity. He probably hated every single person in that clinic.
And then the sun comes up.
The next day, Mark walks into the group session, and the mood has shifted 180 degrees. He's not grumpy. He's quiet.
He's crying, right?
He's crying, and he's listening to every single word Mehta says.
What changed?
He got another phone call, this time from the mother of one of those friends.
Oh, man.
The friend who called him. The one bragging about the Mexican mud. He's dead. He overdosed that same night. In fact, several people in that circle overdosed. It was a bad badge or just way too strong.
And Mark realizes.
He realizes that the walls of the clinic weren't keeping him from a good time. They were keeping him from a morgue.
Wow.
He tells the group, if I wasn't in here, I would have been in that room with them. I'd be dead today.
That is the ultimate we shall see moment. The thing he fought against, the thing he labeled as a punishment, was actually a lifeboat.
It brings us right back to that core idea. You have no idea what suffering is being averted. In his case, the suffering averted was death.
But he lacked the sophistication, in Mehta's terms, to see it until time finally revealed the truth.
It's terrifying, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it implies we really have no clue what's going on. We're just stumbling through the dark, judging things by how they feel in the moment, but we're constantly wrong.
We're terrible at forecasting. Our brains are prediction machines, but the data set is always incomplete.
And this cuts both ways, which is really important because Mehta warns that we also completely misjudge the good things.
All right, the good luck trap. We assume getting what we want is always good.
He uses the example of a wealthy Chaldean family. They want to give their son the best possible start to adulthood. So for his 18th birthday, they buy him a Lamborghini.
I mean, if we're polling the audience, 99% of people would say this is incredible luck. You're 18, you have a supercar, you've won the lottery of life.
The villagers are cheering. But if Mr. Chan was at that birthday party, he'd be the guy in the corner looking worried.
Because he knows something about human development.
He knows that giving a 600 horsepower racing machine to a human being whose frontal lobe, the part of the brain that controls impulse and risk, isn't fully formed yet.
That is not a gift. It's a weapon.
It's setting the stage for absolute disaster. You're handing a loaded gun to a toddler, essentially.
And in the story, Mehta tells it is a disaster. 6 months later, the kid is drag racing. He loses control and he dies.
It's tragic, but it proves the rule. The gift was the catalyst for the tragedy. If they had bought him a rusty Honda Civic, he might still be alive.
Exactly. So the sophomoric view says Lamborghini equals good rehab equals bad.
While the sophisticated view says the Lamborghini is dangerous because it lowers my guard and rehab is painful, but it's safe.
It forces you to look at the utility of the event, not just the pleasure of it.
It really challenges our envy, doesn't it? We look at people who seem to have made it and we feel so jealous. But we don't know if their success is actually the first chapter of their ruin.
We don't know if the lottery win will destroy their family. We don't know if the promotion will cause a massive heart attack. We just don't know.
So if we accept this premise that we truly don't know if an event is good or bad until the end of the line, where does that leave us?
Because I can't just sit on my couch saying, we shall see every time my rent is due. We still have to live our lives. We still have to make decisions.
We do. And Mehta addresses this. He doesn't want you to be passive. This isn't about apathy. He wants you to be relevant.
Relevant. That's a really interesting word. Define that in this context.
He closes with the story about a seeker climbing a mountain to find a guru. The seeker wants the ultimate answer. He asks, what is the meaning of life?
The big question. The one everyone wants the cheat code for.
And the guru doesn't give him some metaphysical riddle. He says the meaning of life is that we're born, we try to make ourselves relevant, and then we die. Now go back down the mountain and try to make yourself relevant.
That feels incredibly pragmatic for a guru on a mountain.
It shifts the locus of control entirely. If you're stuck in the sophomoric view, you are obsessed with what the universe is doing to you. Is this good luck? Is this bad luck? Why me?
Well, you're just the victim of the story. You're the audience watching the movie happen.
Right, you're just waiting for the next plot twist, completely paralyzed by anxiety.
But if you focus on being relevant, you stop judging the event and start asking, okay, this has happened. How can I be useful now?
So applying that to our earlier examples, if I break my leg,
don't waste energy deciding if it's a curse. That energy is wasted. Use the energy to heal. Or use the downtime to learn a skill. Or, as in the parable, just stay alive long enough for the war to pass.
and if you get the DUI,
Don't spiral into shame. Accept the data point, I cannot drink safely. Make yourself relevant to your own recovery.
be useful to the other people in the group therapy. Be the person who warns the next guy.
It's all about agency. The we shall see philosophy isn't about passivity at all. It's about emotional conservation. Stop burning calories judging the movie before it's over.
Precisely. Because you are going to need those calories to handle whatever comes next. Whether it's a broken leg, a war, or a huge promotion, they're all just terms in the road.
This is one of those concepts that is so easy to understand intellectually, but really hard to practice when you're in the thick of it. When the panic sets in, logic usually goes right out the window.
It's a discipline. It takes real practice. When the floor drops out your amygdala, your lizard brain is going to scream tragedy.
You have to manually override that.
You have to acknowledge the pain, but reject the label. You have to say, okay, painful. Yes, tragedy. We shall see.
So here is the challenge for you, the listener, today.
Yeah.
Think about the thing in your life right now that you are convinced is bad. The stressor, the delay, the breakup, the job that got away.
Apply the Mr. Chan filter. Ask yourself, is it possible that this rejection is protecting me from a terrible boss? Is it possible that this delay is keeping me off a plane that shouldn't fly?
Or even simpler, is it possible that I just don't have all the information yet?
It opens up a little bit of breathing room. And sometimes that's all you need to keep going, just enough space to stop the spiral.
And on the flip side, look at the things you're celebrating. The Lamborghinis in your life.
Don't be paranoid, but be aware. Success has its own traps. Just because you're winning right now doesn't mean the game is over.
Stay humble. Stay sophisticated. Because we really don't know how the story ends. What if the things you are currently celebrating are the very things you should be wary of, and the things you are mourning are your greatest protections?
We don't know.
And as Mr. Chan would say,
We shall see.
that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for exploring the sophisticated view with us. We'll catch you on the next one.